Hi guys, this is Shannon from Reptile Way and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we're going to be showing you a couple of different builds that we did for our blue tongue lizards, and we're going to show you how you can make these builds for your scaly pets. And it'll work for a variety of different types of lizards and snakes. So let's dive into this video. So this is the bones of the build of the first piece we are creating today, and you can see there's quite a bit of spray foam. We've already started creating some detail, but now we've carved the entire shiny top layer off that spray foam, as well as adding more detailing. But I'm not going to show you the carving process in this section because you'll see it in the next build how I created those little details. But you can see I've also created holes to put those plants in, the fake plants, to make them removable. And yeah, we're slowly getting to it looking like a rock piece, but now we're getting onto the grouting stage. We're starting off with a really thick pancake consistency of grout. And the reason being is we've got a lot of air holes that we need to fill in. We want to add strength to this piece to begin with. So after you've done your first layer of grout, you will see quite a few cracks, but don't worry, your second, third, fourth, fifth layer will get thinner and thinner, and you'll be able to cover those cracks in. But you can see quite a thick consistency of grout is needed to cover these air holes in. And it depends, the amount of layers depends how many cracks you experience. Generally, I do about 4 layers of grout, and that's fine for me. Now also with the grout, once you've done your last layer, to add extra detailing when it's still damp but not wet and before it's completely dry, you can use a knife to carve in the striations, the lines in the rock. So again, I'm not showing you in this build because we'll see it later on in this video. But now you can see we've got those striation layers carved in already. But now we're going on to the spray painting, where I've simply just added some black acrylic paint into a spray bottle with water. And we're going to be spraying particular areas of this build. And the reason being, we want to add depth. We want to make this piece not look so uniform, and we want to make it look natural. And what our eyes can do is we like to make everything look nice, neat, uniform, but you've got to remember that's not what nature is. And you want to take a look at your piece before you go on to the next layer. I'm adding a bit more black spray paint in particular areas. Wait for this to be completely bone dry, really important, before you go on to the next step, which is the dry brushing. So we're just simply going to use some white acrylic paint, and you can really use whatever brand you want. And we're going to put a little bit on our brush, and then you can wipe some of it off your brush, and then you're going to brush it onto your piece. And you want to brush it onto those raised areas. And what we're trying to achieve here is we're going to mimic how wind and rain will tear away at a rock. So it's going to look natural and worn and like it's been there for thousands of years. And this can really elevate your piece and make it look a little bit more natural. Now we're really getting on into the build, and this is looking amazing. Don't worry if you've got some white that you think is standing out quite a lot, because it will be dampened after we've done the waterproofing. So I've taken this into a more sanitary area inside the house. So I've taken it out of the garage. I'm going to flip it over so it's upside down so I can waterproof the underside first. And I'm just using a clear pond sealer. So if you're not in Australia, you can look for a brand that you can get in your own country. Generally, what is safe for really sensitive aquatic life most of the time is going to be safe for your reptile. But we've finished the waterproofing stage, And now it's time to put in these fake plants, and I like to get my fake plants from Spotlight because they have such a wide variety of fake plants that look really nice but also quite hardy, and I've never had an issue with them with my animals. But we've got Bangers testing it out after this is cured for about 7 days, and yeah, she's nice and chill on it, living her best life. And I do like to test them on it before I put it in their enclosure, but this is the particular substrate I do like to use for lots of my enclosures because it's really good at creating burrows. Now keep in mind, this particular enclosure is not Banger's Forever Home. I have just moved from Darwin to Victoria, so I've got a hand-me-down system going on. So my blue tongue lizards are in here temporarily until I move into my new place in about a month's time, but I've got all my reptiles in my mum's office, so we've got limited rooms. So this is still the minimum size requirements for a blue tongue lizard, but I always like to give my reptiles a lot of space, so once I move they will be upgraded into their new enclosures. And as well, they're going to have Arcadia UVB lighting stretching about 2/3 to half of the enclosure, just because I don't think this is necessary UVB requirements in my opinion for a blue tongue lizard. However, I do have them on vitamin D3 supplements as well. But again, it's just my preference because I do like to mimic as close to what I can as what they'd experience in the wild. Yes, they do spend a lot of time burrowing, but also they do like to bask at the same time. Now, I've used some sphagnum moss because my animals love burrowing in that under the hides, and we're just putting some water in there for a bit of moisture, which again is important for shedding and getting that humidity up, moving to a bit of a cooler, dry climate. But now we've put Bangers in, she's going to have a bit of a feed. She didn't realize the food was on the rock in the first place. Now she has, and she is going to be in absolute heaven. And she loves her food. Again, this is a mixture of ground up organs, different cuts of meat, vegetables, a bit of banana in that one today. So I give them a really varied diet as well with supplements. But now I did fix that UVB light. I put a bulb in that actually fits it, and I love these light fixtures. You can get them from Amazon, and this is what this enclosure is starting to look like. So again, I would go bigger than this if you've got a blue tongue lizard, but for a month this will be totally fine for this girl. So we've got a lot of builds to come that will be coming out of the Reptile Way YouTube channel. But now we're going on to the next particular build we're doing, and these are some ruins, and I love doing ruins because you can have so much fun. Guess what? You make a mistake, that's okay. Part of the ruins has fallen down. But this is what I was talking about, how I'll explain how to carve into this particular piece that you're doing. So I'm using the same technique as what I did with the first piece, but obviously we're going for a bit more of a ruin themed. And these sort of hot wire foam cutters come with all different attachments. So I really love this wand, this hot wand attachment. It's really good for carving in all those details, bricks, strata layers like that we had in the first piece. It's just a really good tool to have if you do want to invest a little bit more and you're going to build quite regularly. I definitely recommend you getting one of these. They are quite useful. I do find though this wand attachment only lasts me about maybe 4 builds, and then it starts to bend a bit. So that's the only downside, but again, for me, it's worth getting it because I love the detailing you can do with it. And as you're doing this, you would have seen me with the measuring tape. It's really good to have that just to make sure you're sticking to your measurements because it can be quite close with the heat source. And with me, I already temperature tested particular heights of basking spots and depending on my animals. So what people don't realize is with Bangers, the first one that I did, that first build in this video, she doesn't really like too toasty basking spot, so that's why hers was sloped down. Whereas Hannibal likes a nice toasty basking spot, so his is a little bit higher but again, still a safe range and still a perfect temperature for blue tongue lizards. Now I'm using this particular silicone. Make sure it says for windows and aquariums on it, and to glue in all these bits of this build. Now, another thing to keep in mind with your builds, with whatever builds you're doing for whatever reptiles, I love my aesthetics. I like it to be aesthetically pleasing, but also at the same time, you need it to match your animal and you need it to be practical for them. And you want to add a good source of enrichment. So with these builds, it provides a lot of enrichment texture-wise. So this is why we're carving in all these details, because once you've done the grouting waterproofing, it's going to add texture that will assist with shedding, but it is in a source of enrichment for them and does mimic the wild. But as well, with this particular build, we've got two pieces. So this is just one of the pieces that'll be going in this enclosure. There's another piece that almost creates like a tunnel. So we can fill that with substrate so that the blue tongue can bury in it. It can feel hidden, but it can stick its head out the little windows and the doors and climb all over it. And you're increasing the surface area. So with my animals, they're in a smaller enclosure temporarily, so I want to increase that surface area, less dead space. But now what we're doing is we're using some spray foam and we're actually strengthening the joins. And you carve that shiny top layer off again. And I'm doing the blue tongue lizard build, but then also you can see this build as well. This is for my black-headed python. That's in a previous video that you can check out, the part 3 video of the move. But now we're going with more of a grey colour. So I finished doing sort of the last layer on the underside. And so I'm flipping it over and we're going to start the grouting on the main part. With it being upright, the main part, you're going to see where you really want the detailing to pop to make it look like a ruin. So we're starting again thick pancake consistency for that first layer to allow strength, to allow to fill in any air holes or gaps in the piece when you've sort of put these foam sheets together. And with the foam sheets, you can use polystyrene sheets that you can get from the tip packing foam, but you can also use the insulation sheets from Bunnings that have almost like a foil coating stuck to it. Rip the foil coating off and boom, you've got stuff to build with. But now you can see we're carving in the details. So you want to wait for the grout to be dry but still damp to the touch. If you let it dry too much, it's going to be too hard to carve into. So just when it's damp, maybe it's about to be dry, you want to start your carving. And you can add all the cracks, the detailing, accentuate the brickwork. But now we're going into the dry brushing. Again, we're using some white acrylic paint, nice and simple. And just like the first piece again, it's going to look worn. We want the same thing. We want it to look like it's been there for thousands of years. And now we're getting on to the waterproofing. So flipping your entire piece over, doing the underside first, and then you're going to flip it upright. And you want to do a minimum of 3 coats, but I do 4 coats over the entire piece, and then on the basking spot I might do 6 because that's going to be an area where they're going to poo. And yeah, Hannibal seems to be happy with it, so we're going to put this build into Hannibal's enclosure. And you can see I'm putting some sphagnum moss in there, and I'm going to put a lot more in there because Hannibal goes nuts for sphagnum moss. He absolutely loves it. Whenever I've put fresh sphagnum moss in, he stops what he's doing and he goes investigates. It's quite funny to watch. Now we're putting some detailing. So when you do these ruins, create some bricks to look like things have fallen off and, have spread out across the ground. Again, just to make it look a little bit more authentic, a little bit more realistic. And as well, you could create big sort of bits that have fallen off if you want to have that as a bit of a feeding platform on the ground. But now we're adding some plants to give it like a bit of an Indiana Jones vibe going on. Maybe it's a ruin in the jungle, who knows. And we're putting Hannibal onto this piece, and guess where he is gonna go? I don't get a good look at his face basking on top of the piece. Nope, he goes straight down for that sphagnum moss. He absolutely loves it. Now, I was really surprised as to how Hannibal took to this piece. I'm just gonna let Hannibal do all the talking right now as to how he loves this piece. Also, if you're wondering how Hannibal gets his name, check out what a voracious feeder he is. He has always been really big into his food, and he comes out guns blazing when it comes to feeding time. But I want to show you how practical this piece is, because lots of people think that blueies can't climb, and they can. You just need to make it safe for them because they're absolutely clumsy. So having a thick substrate layer in case they fall off, they've got a soft landing. But look, Hannibal can easily climb all over this piece. And yeah, look at him. He's using the basking spot. The heat bulb's off because I've got a thermostat on. So it obviously regulates that. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I really do hope it did give you all the information you need to do some amazing builds for your scaly pets. If you did like the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Hit subscribe as well. It'll really help our small channel out. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.